What's up, RPG fans? Welcome to episode 43 of the Switchrpg podcast. Tonight, I am one of your hosts, Philip, and I'm joined, like I used to be, by the voice of the people himself, Mr. Going to PAX East, GM.
Yes, I'm really excited about it. It's the first time I'm going as a media member. I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm really excited about that. And this whole situation right now we got going on, you're kind of back in the saddle today. This is awesome. It is so nice to have you back for this episode. And I wish you could come back more, but I mean that's.
We will see. Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for having me back. I was glad you reached out last week, and I couldn't make last week work. And I was just commenting before we went live here that Gio did a fantastic job last week in the driver's seat by himself.
Oh man,
Very impressive.
I was like an adult. I didn't know what to do. I had just gotten my license, and I'm freaking out, man.
Fix the kids in the back seat. You got like the dog in the passenger seat.
Yeah, man. It was crazy. I was like a full-on adult. I was freaking out, man.
But for real, it's good to be back guesting and back in the hosting here. And let me perform my duties. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time listening, I apologize for that little off-topic jaunt there, but this is the Switchrpg podcast, which is coming to you from the website Switchrpg.com, and we cover all of the latest news, upcoming game releases, and everything that's happening in the world of RPGs on the Nintendo Switch. This week, we've got some great stuff for you. Mm-hmm. Some great stuff. Some updates. Some games coming to Switch. We also have a really good listener question from Switchrpg podcast Hall of Famer Paul Nichols. I've got some answers for it, and then we've got some Anthem talk later on.
Anthem talk.
Yeah, Anthem, because Anthem's on the Switch. No, it's really not. Anyway,
I don't know that I'd want it on the Switch at this point, but go ahead.
it might kill your Switch. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, before we jump into the news, as we always do, let's cover some quick housekeeping. Make sure, if you enjoy the show, we would really appreciate it if you took the time to head over to your favorite podcasting app, leave us a rating and review. It really helps us out. Some people don't understand how ratings and reviews help. The more of those you have, the higher you will appear in searches when people are looking for podcasts of certain genres, things like that. So every little bit helps. Also, if you'd like to join the conversation, because we are all about community here at the Switchrpg podcast, if you'd like to join the conversation, head over to our Discord, which is discord.switchrpg.com. And we have a podcast channel already set up. Jump in, comment on what we've been talking about this week, ask us questions, anything you want. And Gio is really good about lurking in there and jumping on questions and
I'm always available.
Answering them and being snarky.
Never.
And then finally, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is run by Gio himself. Does a great job over there. There you can watch our Let's Plays, game reviews, and join us when we record the podcast live.
If we record the podcast.
If we record it live, which we're not doing currently.
No.
Due to tech issues. But anyway, stay tuned for that stuff. Housekeeping out of the way. Let's get into the episode proper with the first segment being the news segment. First off, a very popular game on the Switch. I know because I've been listening to the show. I've been keeping tabs with you guys. I know just how much of Tales of Vesperia Corey has not been playing when he says that, I've played for 18 hours in a day, and then he goes for 8 weeks without playing. I know what it's like. But anyway, Tales of Vesperia coming to you from Jamatsu. I still don't know in 2019 how to pronounce that website.
Jamatsu is good.
Jamatsu.
I like that. Yeah.
All right, but anyway, the Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition version 1.2 is hitting from the time that we're recording this, which is on Wednesday. It's coming tomorrow. So if you're listening to this on Friday, that update is there. And you guys should all go update. So I'm just going to run down some of the bullet points that Jamatsu has here. All versions... this update is going to fix a rare issue, which the game will freeze during gameplay. It adjusts the height of certain enemies, both in the overworld map and in battle. It fixes the display lag that would occur in Montec.
That your guess with that is as good as mine.
It adjusts the behavior of stick controls during battle. It fixes an issue in which Flynn's voice would play in Japanese when changing his strategy to up to you during battle, even when the voiceover settings have been set to English. That's a strange one.
I've actually had most of those things happen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I have still not played. I gave Corey a hard time. I have not played Tales of Vesperia yet.
All right.
And then finally, it improves stability of other behaviors. And there's some other stuff too. Everybody, go over to Jamatsu. I'm not going to take any more time doing it. I will say for specifically the Switch version, it's also adjusting the audio balance. So, Gio, I don't know if that's a problem. Anyway,
it is a problem. There have been times when the music is just kind of out of balance with the action going on the screen. Like there was just some stability issues there. I've had the stick controls where my character Yuri wouldn't move at all, and I'm trying to move him again in the fighting arena, as you would call it. I'm trying to move him around, and he just wouldn't go anywhere. So it seems like that is also being addressed. And then when I'm changing my fighting style, I guess you could call it, I would get the random Japanese talking. And I just thought it was part of the game, to be honest with you. I really didn't think much of it, but hey, they're supporting their game. So cool.
Great. Staying at Jamatsu, we have an announcement that NIS America has a press event video presentation set to go live March the 11th. So next, was that Monday, I believe? Yeah, on Monday at noon Eastern time. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time for all of you West Coasterners.
There's no West Coasters? West Coast Coasterners?
West Coasterners? Anyway, NIS America, Gio, would you agree that, they're one of the top supporters on Switch at this point?
They very much support the Switch. I don't know about top supporters. Square Enix is definitely up there with the amount of stuff that they have going on the Switch. NIS America definitely puts their products on the PlayStation 4 as well as the Nintendo Switch.
Absolutely.
They're definitely supporters.
Yeah, and according to this article in Jamatsu, it looks like there's a high possibility that we'll be seeing some new game announcements.
Yep.
Maybe some release dates that could be as soon as this year. So cool stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think we'll definitely get a little bit more of. This is. Caligula Effect Overdose will already be out at this time, but they'll be definitely talking about that, their newest release. Then they'll be talking about, apparently they'll be releasing some more information on their, like you had mentioned, the releases to be this year. I don't think they're doing anything further than that, as far as I know. So new games to be expected. So
yeah,
very good.
and to be expected, these games, at least most of them, if not all of them, will appear on the Switch. So a Switch library that has already been impressive, we know is going to be impressive this year, could get even more impressive next Monday if NIS America comes out, shows some cool stuff, and says, hey, you know what? It's coming this year. So
yeah, and typically most of their releases have been RPGs, so definitely something to look into and watch. And I understand, with them, they're more Japanese oriented, so a lot of people aren't into that, which is fine. They definitely have kind of a niche, audience, but they will be putting out some RPGs without a doubt.
Absolutely. Speaking of game announcements, heading over to rpgamer.com, we have a brand new World War II styled RPG entitled Warsaw.
Yep.
I know it's the company that did, what is that, Regalia of Men and Monarchs. Yep. What is that? Pixelated, right? Yeah.
That game is the developer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I think it's pixelated. My eyes are really bad. That's part of the problem here. But anyway, it's from that company that brought you Regalia of Men and Monarchs. This is, like I said, Warsaw has been announced. It takes place during once again, this is coming from Alex Fuller over at RP Gamer. Set during 1944 as an uprising against the occupying Nazi forces. You command squadrons of recruits, and I don't know exactly. Is turn-based? Is it more strategy?
I think it might be a turn-based strategy. It might be both of those things in once. And you were right. It is pixelated. The developer, and what really stuck out in this game is it reminds me of Darkest Dungeon, almost to a T. It's got the cell shaded type of characters. It's got the same, what's the, like, where the layout, I guess you could call it. It's very much influenced with Darkest Dungeon. So if you like Darkest Dungeon, you may like this. I don't know if doesn't sound like this game is going to be a rogue light, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't sound like it's going to be something like that, but maybe it's going to be a little more straightforward. But yeah, it definitely has Darkest Dungeon vibes for sure.
Yeah, and there is an actual trailer, a little teaser trailer there on the article from RP Gamer. So everybody go flood RP Gamer. Go check out the trailer. There's a screenshot here. It does look like sort of a more classic turn-based battle system where enemies on one side, your party on the other side. So, hey, I'm all for turn-based now. I really am.
Are you? Because I know, I mean, I hear this quite a bit, that turn-based is kind of falling out of style, not out of style, but out of favor. Like, people are starting to like it less. You're not in that camp?
No. I mean, I'm of the mind that the battle system in Final Fantasy X is one of the best I've ever played. And I was actually talking about this either earlier today or yesterday with somebody, because it made the battles, especially like the boss battles, it made them feel like a puzzle, right? Because you weren't like pressed for time. A lot of people say that that's the drawback, is that there's sort of no urgency to it. I don't care about that. It made it feel a little bit more cerebral. Like, okay, usually these bosses have a gimmick. Now I have to experiment to figure out what it is. You're dealing with your turn order, especially once you got skills that could haste your party, mix up the turn order. Maybe you could like stun or delay or put to sleep the enemy, delay their actions. I like all of that kind of stuff, and there's no time. There's no time element. I like that. And, I know that there is a contingency out there that says that, turn-based is sort of dying, maybe because it's less interesting. But I would sort of push back and say, okay, well, look, Persona 5 was a hot game a few years back. A lot of people love that game, and it's turn-based, So
yeah. See, for me, I do like turn-based, but I also like turn-based where certain allies' moveset kind of play off another. Like, they can kind of have combo attacks and things like that. So I like kind of layered type of turn-based action, I guess you could call it. Which we're not seeing that much of. I wish there was more of that.
Well, because I think there's so much that you can do with turn-based, and I think that maybe part of the reason that it's quote unquote sort of dying out is maybe there wasn't too much innovation there. I think you can do things with turn-based. I remember, and this isn't like a game that set the world on fire, but Saturday Morning RPG had something interesting where it was your typical turn-based, but every time you attacked, there was sort of a little quick time thing, or like your different skills, you would have to do like a different combo of maybe it was like a button pressing thing, or like a little sort of mini game that would add extra damage or would add like a stun attack. And then the same thing, whenever the enemy attacked you, you had to pay attention to like the animation of the enemy, and there was always a moment right before you got hit where you could hit a button, and it would eliminate some of the damage. It would alleviate some of the damage that you took.
Yeah,
it would lessen it a little bit.
See, I like that. It's a little mechanic that kind of deviates from the norm, and it grabs your attention.
It forces you back on your toes a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, and especially when like all the different enemy types had different like timing, so that it wasn't just a sort of a throwaway. Okay, I did this 5 times. I know exactly how to do it. Now that I'm facing a new enemy, I've got to you got to
learn that enemy. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's perfect. I like something a little new spin on the turn base. Because having the same stale turn based thing, it can get boring. It really can. Octopath. Sorry.
Wow. Wow. We're not even back 20 minutes, and we're already there. Okay. Anyway, heading back over to Jamatsu. We've got the Alliance Alive HD remaster hitting PS4, Switch, and PC in Japan later this year. Alliance Alive, I don't know anything about this game. What is this? Is this one that a lot of people like?
I think so. I'm hearing a lot about it. I don't know. Again, just like you, I don't know much about it either. I want to say this came out later in the life cycle of the 3DS.
Okay. Yeah.
So it didn't get the proper. It didn't get the proper notoriety on the 3DS, so now they're kind of moving it over to the Switch, and I think at some point it is coming here. But
eventually, you would assume so.
I would think so, right?
Yeah, and I think that's sort of interesting because it's well documented. We've been getting a lot of Wii U ports over onto Switch. I feel like we're sort of running out of those titles. There's still a few that I would like to see come over. We're sort of slowly running out of those titles. Mm-hmm. So I would be interested to see more 3DS games come over. I know that might be a little bit more involved of a port because you're dealing with the 2 screens to 1 screen.
Right.
So, I'm not a genius or a game dev or anything.
That's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the time,
make it happen.
Most of the time, that second screen is a map, especially in RPGs. I mean, you can figure it out. They could figure that out. But I think, why not start getting those good 3DS games? Put the HD on it, put the remaster on it, and bring it over to the Switch. Like your Brave Default. I was just saying that Bravely Default is, and Bravely Second. You know, a lot of people. There are so many RPGs on the 3DS. It's ridiculous how many are on there. So maybe they'll start tapping into that, or either straight up port, or start, you know, HD remastering them. I don't know what they're waiting for, but you know, hey, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I don't know what goes into these things. How hard is it? How much does it cost?
Right,
but
is it worth it?
In my little ignorant brain, I feel like if it did okay on the 3DS, you're going to have the opportunity for it to be in front of another big audience.
Yep.
On a system that people love buying games for.
Right.
So just do it.
Yeah, I mean, granted, yes, the install base for the 3DS is probably a lot higher.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Right. But you got to, I'm just going off of what I think. I would say that most of the owners of the 3DS are younger people, but I don't even, now that I'm kind of thinking about that a lot, that's probably not even true at this point. Yeah, just ignore that what I just said, because that can't be true. That can't be true.
Just a bunch of 8-year-olds running around.
That's
the entire market is 8-year-olds. 2DSs, that might be the case.
Maybe,
because those came out so late in the 3DS life cycle, and
right.
You know, they are marketed as a cheaper thing, sort of at parents to buy for kids. That might be true, but yeah, maybe. I think overall, over the entire lifespan of 3DS, I mean, I think it's wide and diverse. So
yeah.
Caught something in my throat there a little bit.
Oh my god. Over
at Nintendo Life, we have another game announcement coming. This one coming from a friend of the Switch, Kimco, publisher, friend of the Switch. But Bonds of the Skies is headed to the Switch with pre-purchase options. Once again, you listen to this on Friday. They're live. Bonds of the Skies. Not Bonds of Disguise. I know I kind of stuttered there, and it sounds like disguise. Like
that's definitely a New England take.
Or spies or something.
Yeah, no, that's a New England take. Bond of Disguise.
Oh,
that's how we
disguise.
Disguise.
Yeah.
Disguise.
Yeah. No, but Bond of the Skies. Look. I am someone who enjoys. Shall we say? I don't know. How should we word this? Budget RPGs. You know what I'm talking about. Look, I enjoy these as much as anyone. Maybe call them like popcorn RPGs, right? You know,
that's what Kemco does. Yes. Okay.
Yes. I also appreciate a good sort of trying to capitalize on the success of something else. But if you look at Bonds of the Skies, if you look at the logo,
I'm looking at it.
Well, yeah, look at the character design.
Yep, I'm looking at it. Yep.
It really brings to mind a smaller game, a lesser known game than even this, called The Legend of Hero Trails in the Skies. Trails in the Sky.
Uh-huh.
That logo, that font choice, it's pretty smart. But anyway,
I got to do a little. I'm gonna do a Bing search on that one.
Chandler Bing it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh boy. I see what you're saying. Yeah, Bonds of the Skies, very similar to the
Trails in the Sky. Yeah.
How lovely.
But anyway, this may be total quality. It may be. I'm not throwing off on it.
Now, do all Kemco games look the same?
Ooh, that was your insinuation.
I'm asking your opinion. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just asking you, do they look the same to you? So you think they all look the same, is what you're saying?
They do, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. All Ubisoft games look the same.
Not really. Like Mario plus Rabbids looks nothing like The Division.
Okay. But Division, Watch Dogs, Far Cry,
Okay.
Assassin's Creed. And I'm not saying that to put down.
Well,
Ubisoft,
they're all third person.
because we'll talk about it in a minute what I've been playing, but and I love those. But I'm saying like I'm not going to fault Kimco for all using the same engine and assets and look, if it works, it works. Go for it, Kimco. Okay. I don't have to buy and enjoy the games, but
I mean, in all honesty, this one looks the most appealing to me. So
I feel like I say that every new Kimco game, and it just never works out. I'm like, this is the one.
This is the one. Yes, and I guess this was on the 3DS. It's another 3DS coming over to the Switch. I never got into it. It was late in the 3DS's life cycle, so yeah, it's a Kemco game. They're another great supporter of the Switch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and look, I mean, supply and demand says, economics say, look, if people weren't buying them, Kimco would stop putting these out there. So, right. I mean, obviously there's a market for it. So,
and I don't know if you saw the very first comment on this article.
No.
It is Ben AV. I don't know who that is, but it says you lost me at Kemco. So very cool.
Thank you for that perspective there, Ben AV.
Yes.
All right, sticking at Nintendo Life, we have another game confirmation, game announcement of a port coming over to Switch. Of course, Port Central, baby. This is an interesting one because it's coming from a franchise that is widely known for both its anime and its video games, but Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Coming over to Switch. I don't know all of the different titles and subtitles of Sword Art Online. I don't know which one this is. I don't know if this is a good one to come over, but it is Sword Art Online Hollow Realization Deluxe Edition. Because when you bring games to Switch, it's required that you have it 6 words or more in the title. But anyway, Bandai Namco has confirmed that it's bringing Sword Art Online Hollow Realization Deluxe Edition over May 24th. So not too far away.
Yeah.
That about a month after the Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 and 12 hit the Switch. So, I mean, like every month, you got big old RPG coming out.
Yeah, they're a big hitters every month. We're getting something. But having something, in the RPG world, this is a fairly big and fairly good game. The name anyways. I'm not very familiar with the Sword Art Online, but I know about it as far as the name and the quality it brings. So I'm going to keep my eye on this one.
Yeah. I think that brand I don't want to say brand recognition, but having the name on there, I think is important, because even if this isn't necessarily the best game in the series or the best game in the world, I like having franchises tied to Nintendo and tied to the Switch. If this is coming over, if this sells well, that future titles in the series will be coming over. And look, I have a real big soft spot for Bandai Namco. I like them as developer, publisher, whatever hand they are in a game. The more of the games that are on Nintendo platforms, I am super fans of. So,
right,
yeah, bring it over, and I hope it does well.
Me too.
Last but definitely not least, one of the most interesting / confusing / fascinating, mind-boggling stories that I've read in a long time actually hit, I believe, earlier this morning. I think it was earlier this morning that I first saw this. Might have happened yesterday, but anyway. I chose the article from Variety. This, to me, flashed me back to, I don't know the episode number specifically, but Gio and I talked kind of extensively about mobile gaming. We talked about Nintendo's mobile gaming strategy in particular with Dragalia Lost specifically, Fire Emblem. I remember it was because it was reported how much money Dragalia had made in a short span of time, like 3 months, right?
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
Right, and so we know that game is selling, and Nintendo has, that's sort of its latest of its, ventures into the mobile space. But anyway, stories coming out today, surfacing today, that apparently Nintendo put out a statement to their mobile teams saying, don't overload them with microtransactions. Don't make our customers, our players, overpay, and essentially don't drag us into like the same conversation as like an EA, right? Or like these publishers who have sort of been marred recently because of their nefarious microtransactions.
Right,
deeds,
Ubisoft,
right?
Fallout 76, those guys.
Yes. So I'm going to just read a couple of lines here from the Variety article. It says Nintendo is worried that excessive microtransactions will harm its brand and reputation, and is asking mobile development partners to curb player spending in games. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo is apparently happy to sacrifice some revenue to maintain its family-friendly image. Cyber Agent Inc., parent company of Dragalia Lost, developer Side Games reportedly told Wall Street Journal, quote, Nintendo is not interested in making a large amount of revenue from a single smartphone game. If we managed the game alone, we would have made a lot more. Wow. What is your sort of response to this, Gio?
Well, I like that it's trending in that direction for them. I just wish that the microtransactions would stop at a certain point, maybe capped out at a certain point. I think in Pokemon Quest, there are microtransactions in that, but I think after about after you spend $30 in microtransactions, you've unlocked everything. So again, you buy in small, but then you end up spending the money. I'd be okay with that. Now, for them to try and save face, to tell these developers, tone it back or make it easier to obtain certain things, certain, items that you have to pay for or whatever, just make it overall family friendly is very interesting. And I can appreciate that from them, because I don't know that you're going to see that from anyone else. And also in the article, it says that their revenue for Dragalia Lost is below expectations, but it's still made a ridiculous amount of money, and I think the most out of all of their products that they currently have out there. So more than Fire Emblem, more than Pokemon Let's Go. What else is in there? I know I'm missing something. Mario Run, Animal Crossing. So
I think Pocket Camp, yeah.
So it's just made a ridiculous amount of money, and you almost want to commend them, and maybe this will be a trend going forward. I mean, I hope it's a trend going forward with everyone else, but the money is there. It's ridiculous how the money is there.
So what is so baffling to me about this is just because this is in my mind, I don't know everything, but in my mind, this is the first time that a publisher has come out and said, guys, pull back microtransactions.
Mm-hmm.
That's
before like the Fallout. I don't mean that intentionally.
Oh, sure.
Like EA with the Star Wars Battlefront.
Yes, true.
They had to go through. The players were very upset and all these petitions, and this is Nintendo kind of just getting ahead of that.
Yeah, in the past, it's only been reactionary
Right.
based on basically threats from players of like, this is unethical or this is ridiculous or, you know, why. And so it's almost like relenting. They remove them or they adjust them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time that I know of a publisher just coming out and saying to preserve sort of the identity of our brand and of our name, we don't want to be in this negative situation, so don't do this. So as a player, I like that because in my mind that's very pro consumer. That's pro, I'm going to use the term that you don't like, but that's pro gamer, right? That's pro person playing games.
Sure.
Because that is not overloading us with these microtransactions that a lot of people don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Which I am for. I am for, obviously, as a person playing games.
Mm-hmm.
However, the thing that I think makes this complex and interesting is, in a weird way, could this turn around and bite them in the butt too? Because especially since, I mean, kind of, candidly, or not uncandidly. I mean, very, they just came out and said this to Washington Street Journal. That developer said, we could have made a lot more money if we just ran this thing ourselves. And, Nintendo, it sounds like Nintendo was sort of heavy-handed with like pulling back just how much they could charge and microtransact.
Mm-hmm.
So could this hurt Nintendo in the end because developers may not want to develop mobile games for Nintendo because they know that they're not going to be able to make the money that they quote-unquote could otherwise?
Right.
So if you're not going to have developers developing mobile games, then you're not going to make money on mobile games because you're not going to have mobile games.
Right. No, that certainly makes sense.
Because I understand, because it still made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already got that. But I'm just saying, like, with them coming out and saying this, could that hurt Nintendo's future if devs say, yeah, we're not going to develop mobile games
because you're going to hold
Nintendo.
us back, you're
because you're going to hold
keep
us back.
us from
we'll go somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. That's a possibility, but I mean, in general, these have all been Nintendo IPs, so I think they could find developers to work with their product. Say, for example, Mario Kart. They go around to all these developers. I mean, people are gonna want to work on them.
That's true. Dragalia the Lost being different in that was a brand new IP.
Right.
I don't know how that deal went down though. I don't know if that was just Nintendo published or was that app developer, was that sort of also in-house, was that like a first party studio? I don't know how that
Right. No, it's definitely a Nintendo IP at this point.
Sure,
it's something that they put out. It's not like Xenoblade Chronicles, Yeah. It's definitely Nintendo owned. So they control the everything pretty much. They just don't have control of who's developing, but they kind of do because they can pick and choose. I don't know. I just think developers are going to they're not going to have a problem with that. They're going to make their money, and they're just, I think, having the image of being more family friendly, that we're not EA, we're not trying to get every single penny out of you, make things make the flow a little better, not really, oh, now I got to buy this. Now I got to buy this item. Now I want to buy this or whatever. So it kind of makes it flow like a better game. And maybe then eventually, maybe you will start seeing more money at that point. So who knows? Who knows? But I think this is definitely an image thing with them. And it's cool. I like to see Nintendo out forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, leave it to Nintendo to do the opposite of what the industry is doing, or like step out and be different. So,
right. Yeah.
And we know that they love that image. They love that image that they have.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Anyway, interesting stuff. That wraps up the news. So let's head on over and talk about what games we have been playing recently this week.
Sure.
So Gio, what 8,000 games have you been playing?
Number 8,000 is no. I started playing Caligula Effect Overdose. That's an NIS America game. It's very reminiscent of Persona, where you're in a school and there aren't personas. It feels, actually, if I could just say, it feels like a generic version of Persona because it's not as good at all. It's a little difficult for me. Not difficult in game, but difficult for me to really get into. Okay. It's a little kind of, quirky, janky. It's a little different than what I was expecting because I like the look of it. It's just not quite there for me. But I've also been playing Hard West. Hard West is something when they announced that for the Switch, that was something I immediately wanted. And I'm playing it. I'm loving it again. It is such a cool game. I love the environment in that game, but I'm having a lot of fun on that. I've been putting that on the YouTubes. I've been doing a little bit of Tales. I want to get more into Tales. I think I'm going to stop uploading videos on YouTube because I just want to get into it. Sure. And I'm not having the time to dedicate to really to kind of record that. So I want to get back into Tales. I'm playing Evoland 2. Have you seen Evoland? All right. Well, Evoland, I think it's the Legendary Edition or whatever. It's a really interesting game where it kind of brings you through like the RPG, the history of RPGs, where sometimes you're doing the 8-bit era, sometimes you're in the 16-bit era, and then you're in the PS2 era. It's really, really interesting. It's actually available on mobile for $1 if you really wanted to get into it, but it's available on the Switch, and I'm really having fun with that one. But that's about it right now anyways. And Cosmic Star Heroine, which is kind of a nice little relaxing game for me to play.
Excellent. So,
what do you got?
Gio, it's been a while, so I'm gonna hit you with several here. Okay.
So Dragon Age, and then Dragon Age Origins. No.
Sure. No, absolutely not. Okay, so I played start to finish Kingdom Hearts 3 when it came out a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so there's that. I'm caught up on the series. I have thoughts. We'll not share them here. I also finally was able to play Final Fantasy 15. That is a game, that I've wanted to play for years. I mean, I followed it for years and years and years, and then it's just one of those things that when it came out, I couldn't get it, and then it was like one thing led to another. There were so many other things to play, and I just never played it. Finally played it. Had a blast with it. Loved that game.
Why is that game so divisive? Where like some people absolutely love it, and then some people don't like it?
Because so I think it's several different things. Number one, because it's a Final Fantasy game and it's so different from any other Final Fantasy game, I think inherently you're going to have some people from the series not like it on the principle that it's not similar to the others,
right? Or
maybe it's not, as
it's not
good.
A Final Fantasy game.
It's not as good as the others.
And get off my lawn.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's that that group of people, but then I think that there are the group of people as well that sort of it suffered. It really did, even though I think that when it came out and it was as good as it could be. I still think that there were a lot of people that they kind of lost because of the long development cycle, that expectations were set, or they saw what the original development team was doing with it and they thought it was going to be one thing, and then it wasn't that, right? So whenever you're talking about a game being made for 10 years, there's going to be a level of disappointment no matter what. So I think that there's that. Plus, I mean, I can objectively say there are some issues with it, from a storytelling perspective. It was missing a lot of things, and I know that they went back in and patched it with 8 billion DLC, things. Yep. That obviously an over-exaggeration. But I think, unfortunately for it was a game that was really hindered by development. Just heck, I mean, just like the worst luck in development, changing teams, taking a long time, having a console generation change in the middle and having to redevelop for a new generation of consoles.
Kind of similar situation to what Kingdom Hearts 3, in a sense.
Yeah, similar. Long development cycle.
Long development time.
And generation change. And it can't catch a break because they recently announced Tabata left the company to start his own thing, so they canceled all future DLC. So we'll never really get Tabata's like finished product, which is sad in a way. But you know what? I still love the game for what it is, and I had an absolute blast with it. And the ending is one of my favorite endings to any Final Fantasy. So there's that. There's that.
Wow.
All right. That was a couple weeks ago. So Gio, I know that you are more of an Xbox guy than anything. Okay. You're Nintendo, but you're an Xbox.
Right.
Guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I've had an Xbox for a long time. Never really taken advantage of it. But I haven't had a PS4 for about 6 or 8 months. And very recently, I was like, you know what? Why don't I really take advantage of the Xbox? I played Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox. Played Final Fantasy 15 on the Xbox. I took advantage of Game Pass, $2 for 2 months. And I got to tell you, I've been distantly a fan of Game Pass and the idea of what Xbox is doing with Game Pass for a while. But man, hands-on, that service is absolutely phenomenal.
Really?
Absolutely phenomenal. You're talking like, I mean, a normal month you're paying $10 a month and it's like Netflix for games. There are so many quality titles on it right now. You can play all of the Tomb Raider, the 3 Tomb Raider games that released. You can play all of the actual Microsoft first party stuff, all 3 of them. But one of them being Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah.
I played Ori and the Blind Forest from beginning to end. That is one of my favorite games of all time.
Holy.
I loved it that much. It's up there with Celeste for definitely favorite platformer of all time. But had a absolute blast with Ori and the Blind Forest. Dabbled in Watch Dogs a little bit. Kind of going back to that game after knowing there was so much controversy surrounding it, and a lot of people hated it because it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. I'm having fun with it, because I'm not taking it too seriously, and I'm just kind of like running around, kind of like running over people and hacking stuff. I'm like, this is kind of fun, but I just kind of dabbled in that a little bit. Where things are getting a little bit more serious between me and Ubisoft is distantly I was interested in The Division 2. Because distantly I was interested in The Division back when it came out, but I never played it. I played the open beta for Division 2 and fell in love with that game and that world. That sort of post-bio disease-ridden, like most of the population's dead. That like setting has always been one of my favorite settings. I think that they do it so well. Turns out I love like cover-based, like cover shooting much more than just like run and gun, because I'm a little bit better at it. It's a little bit more strategic.
Right.
And man, Division has RPG down, dude. It is straight up RPG goodness. And so after playing the beta, I immediately got the original Division, and I've been playing the original Division, having a blast with it.
Nice.
So there's that. Also,
holy, you've been working.
This is all like last month, right? But I mean,
last
look,
week.
you haven't heard from you haven't heard from me in like 2 months. So
yeah, you've been in a cave, right?
So, last couple things. Sold my MacBook finally. Turned around, got a PS4. All right, because I was having fun with the Xbox, but let's be real, I was really missing PS4. And I'm not downing Xbox. I love Xbox. Okay, but I got my PS4 back. right in time for a just ridiculous PS4 sale for Ubisoft and Square Enix. Guys, if you have PlayStation Plus, go check out those sales for that. So I was able to get Assassin's Creed Origins for like $10 or $12 or something like that.
Wow, yeah.
So I started that recently, just see what it's like. So that's sort of me and Ubisoft having a good time recently. Then there's Anthem. We were talking about this a little bit before. We're going to talk about Anthem later.
Sure. Yep.
But I've put maybe 20 hours into Anthem so far. I am playing on PC, so there isn't a chance that it's going to kill my machine, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm playing primarily with my best friend, so like that part really helps having someone. But I will say the interesting thing about Anthem to me is that people were so worried that you would not be able to play it solo because a lot of people just did not want to play it with other people. And that was a big concern. And I will say that the gameplay is more fun with someone else. But every time you finish a mission, you have to go back to sort of your home base. That part is so not fun whenever you're playing with other people, because part of the draw to a BioWare game is like the conversations with NPCs and sort of taking your time and exploring. And you can't really do that when you're supposed to be partying up with someone else. And there's a couple of times where, like, because we were in a party, I could see that we were both supposed to have this such and such mission, right? And so it shows up on my map because he has it active in his queue. So we run the mission. I come back to turn it into the NPC, only to find out I'd forgotten to talk to the NPC before, and I did not have the mission. So I was ready to run that same mission, even though I just ran it with him. So like, it's this weird thing where like it's fun. The gameplay is fun with other people, but then you immediately between missions, I just wish I could like hang out with my friend and just like chill out in the base and talk to NPCs. So anyway.
Right. How are the loading times on PC? Are they really
lengthy? But I know not near as bad as what they are on console.
Okay.
So I mean, I can't complain. I will say long enough for me to like get on Twitter and browse around, but still not as bad as, you know, the unfortunate reality of console.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, so it sounds like a little love-hate thing going on with Anthem.
Yeah, I really want to like it, but I will say this. When I sit down in the morning, because actually recently playing before work is actually when I'm getting some of my gaming time in, because I'm just so tired when I get home. But before work, when I have the option between Division and Anthem, the last week I've chosen Division every single time.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to like cut in and out of things and loading times along, I mean, you're essentially going to get very little gameplay out of the precious time that you have, you know.
And there's some weird things, like the amount of loading screens too is pretty weird for 2019, because you have to you have a menu to go to the missions, you have a loading screen to go to the mission, right? So you in the mission, loading screen to get back to like the victory screen, right? Then you get the option to go to back to the fort or go to what's called the forge. The forge is essentially an inventory. Like in any other game, it's literally just your inventory. It's where you create your loadouts for your gear screen.
Yep.
But for Anthem, it's a complete, you have to go through a loading screen every time you go to it. And you can't just press a button to go to your gear screen. It's an actual physical place that you have to go, and you get the option to at the end of every mission, you get the option to either go to the fort or go to the forge. And so if you want to change your loadout at the end of your mission because you want to update it with the gear that you just got, you would have to load into the forge.
Oh, geez.
Do your loadout, then load into Fort Tarsus. And it's just crazy. It's like, why was that not just a button to go to a gear screen?
I with you and just swap your gear, right?
Yeah, but the gameplay is fun, and yeah. Anyway, I won't pile on it. We'll talk about its real big like objective flaws here in a little bit. So sales and releases, right? Trying to remember. Okay, so heading over to switchrpg.com, remember that you can check all the sales and releases thanks to switchlist.app. Because if you want to browse for games or search for games and you want to find something new to play, maybe check what's coming up. Sometimes the eShop just doesn't cut it, right? It's hard to navigate. Maybe it doesn't bring up exactly what you want. Doesn't have filters, things like that. So that's where switchlist.app comes in. It's the best place to search, filter, sort, and find new stuff. Once again, my eyes are very bad. I can barely see. Let me see. I
can take this.
Yeah, go for it.
So, I'm not going to hit sales, and I did this last week. For me, I think sales, I don't know. They just...
A lot of time there are leftovers from last week.
Yeah, so plus, I'm not big into hitting on sales. If you want to know what sales are going on, definitely hit up switchlist.app. Now for releases yesterday, this was on the 5th. You had Bard's Gold, a game I'm not very familiar with. Ghoul Boy, again, that's coming out on the 7th. Also a game I'm not very familiar with. Braveland Trilogy is also the 7th. I'm not familiar with it. But a game I am very familiar with, Hard West, comes out on the 7th. By the time you're hearing this, it will already be out, and you should be buying it and playing it. And that's it.
There you go. And just to clarify what I mean by my eyes are bad, everybody, I have my screen about 4 feet away from me. So if text is too small, it's just a single line. I can't read it. So anyway.
And you don't have your glasses on. You don't have your glasses on.
No, because you could like see the camera and my soul because of the reflection. All right, cool. So there you go. Switchlist.app. Go check it out. One of my favorite segments, listener question time. Yeah. And I teased this at the top. Hall of Famer, Switchrpg podcast Hall of Famer, Paul Nichols, coming in with another good question. It's like, when will the good questions stop coming from Paul Nichols?
We were having a dueling competition between Paul Nichols and someone on Twitter, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Yeah, he kind of gave up, I think. But anyways, we got Paul Nichols here. Can you read it, or do you need me to read it?
No, I can do this. I can do this, okay? I'm going to squint, but I got this. Okay. Paul writes in and asks, what are some RPGs where the developers did really well with direct sequels? For example, the initial game was good, but they took in feedback and applied it in the second game, and it was even better. And then he also asks, are there any franchises that seem to do the opposite, where the second game is not good? So we have quite a few examples here, Gio. You wanna go with your example of an RPG franchise where the first game was good, but the second game was arguably better?
I would say, I'll take the wheel with this one. Now, Borderlands and Borderlands 2. Now, for me, Borderlands was really, really good. I don't know if you've ever played Borderlands.
I've only ever played Borderlands 2 because my friend who got me into it said, if you're going to play one, just go straight to 2.
Yeah, go straight to 2. It definitely is better. I don't know about, Head and Shoulders, because the first Borderlands is really good, but the second one just takes it to another level. The story, the writing, and the writing is just a lot better. The mechanics are better. The weaponry is better. Like, everything was improved upon. Like, it was just really, really improved upon, and so good. So that is definitely one to look at when you see that question, when you want to know, which one is better or not. But anyways, Borderlands 2 for me is that for sure.
Okay, now I put one here that I've not played this franchise, but I'm sort of, from what I gather, from what I hear, from what I read, but I think you have played this series, so you can back me up. But Mass Effect, going from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, I have traditionally heard that Mass Effect 2 is arguably the best game in the trilogy. What do you think about that? Do you think it was?
I would say so. I mean, visually, it looks a ton better. Maybe more, time just has a lot to do with that. Again, I'm trying to think of what mechanically or what really, really made that game a ton better. I think the shooting, the over the shoulder, because it's a third person, but the actual combat felt better. It wasn't as clanky or janky. It was a little bit smoother, made more sense. And when you go to 3, it's kind of the same. They added more like flight mechanics and things like that in 3, but with 2, there's such a drastic difference between 1 and 2, I think. But there are additional races. The writing is a ton better. Like, just overall, it's just a better game. I'm just trying to jog my memory as to what else made that game so good. It just felt like a bigger, better story, where Mass Effect 1 was kind of the world, the traveling, or the fast traveling and going to different planets just felt weird to me. I can't even really explain it. It's just the world travel just wasn't good in Mass Effect 1, but it's definitely better in 2. So great. But like I said, with Mass Effect 3, it was kind of an incomplete ending. They redeemed themselves, but it's on the same level as 2, in my opinion.
Gotcha. So I've got a couple more things down here as well. I think Kingdom Hearts is an interesting one. And look, all of these at some point are going to be subjective. But I think that Kingdom Hearts to Kingdom Hearts 2, I have a lot of nostalgia, a lot of love for the original Kingdom Hearts. But for me, that jump in quality and visuals, in combat and camera and like controls, in story complexity, storytelling ability, the jump from Kingdom Hearts to Kingdom Hearts 2 was pretty phenomenal. And it's Kingdom Hearts 2 is widely regarded as being a superior sequel to the original. So I thought that was an interesting one. One that I feel like I'm going to get some pushback on is Xenoblade Chronicles, because there are so many people that love the original, and they will argue that the original is better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I think that a case can be made. I think that it's a testament to the quality of the series so far, that you can have that like back and forth, which one is better. Right. But I think it's undeniable that Monolith Soft took what people loved about the original Xenoblade Chronicles, applied that with more for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and you can't deny that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a great game.
Right. No doubt about it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a great game, but I feel like they're just very different games. Like, they're really, that obviously they're not direct sequels or anything like that. So they weren't trying to reciprocate one or the other. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just very different games with the same name, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. along with X. So if you want to even throw X in there, they're all three of them are very, very different.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. The way that they tie them together, though, you can't deny that they're in the same universe.
All right.
And
right,
know,
but that's
I get what you're saying. It's not a
yeah.
continuation of the story. It's
Right,
not a
exactly.
quote-unquote direct sequel, which is technically what Paul is asking.
Right, something like Borderlands 1 and 2, or Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, or Kingdom Hearts 1, 1.2, 7, 3, like whatever iteration of Kingdom Hearts I don't even know. There are so many, I can't even keep track of them. But, those are more direct kind of sequels. Whereas with Xenoblade, they're kind of they're just a namesake only. They're just all different games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got you.
Which is the right opinion.
Okay, so then next up, I've got The Witcher.
Okay.
I think I could speak more of the jump between 2 and 3. Obviously, there was a big jump there, and I'm not saying that having an open world game automatically makes it a better game. It's not. But the way that they made that open world a reality, I think, is undeniably pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
With the amount of writing, with the amount of side content, with the amount of life that world has. It
felt right at home with The Witcher. Like, it was like perfect.
Absolutely. And I think that honestly, if someone came into the series playing 3 first and they went back and played the first 2, I think that unless they're like really invested and they really like them,
Sure.
I think that there's some growing pains there of going back because of the such jump in quality between like 2 and 3.
And I think that's a good way to differentiate, is this one better than that one? So if you go work backwards, so for example, Borderlands 2 and then going back and play Borderlands, the first Borderlands, you can tell there's a little, they've improved on things. Same thing with Kingdom Hearts. I guess you would have to speak to that. Like going backwards, you're missing out on certain things, like some quality of life improvements. And actually, now that I'm thinking of this, for me, Dark Souls 3, again, working backwards,
Sure.
There were dramatic improvements in gameplay. And, storytelling has always been really the same to me. But just in terms of gameplay mechanics, Dark Souls has always improved with every iteration. But again, if you work backwards, you start to miss those things. And that's how you can tell they've listened to things. They kind of honed in on their skill. And, maybe you could see that in The Witcher.
And then
but not in Xenoblade.
Okay, so then one that I thought was interesting, I thought of it, and I kind of thought of you too because I know how much you love Divinity Original Sin 2. Mm-hmm. Is this a situation of just being totally different from the first one? Because I've never played the first Divinity Original Sin.
It is,
I don't know.
In terms of the way it plays, it is sort of similar. Again, there are those quality of life changes, which I think if you start working backwards, you're going to really, really miss. And I can't think of anything specifically. But again, if you're working backwards, you'll miss those things. Now, and I feel like this is the case with everything I've been saying, but the writing is better, the music is better. Now, with Divinity Original Sin, they had I guess you could call it an advantage. They were Kickstarter funded, so a lot of people, they're really invested in it, and they're really putting their opinions out there. And with Larian Studios, they really listen to everyone. So if there are any of those improvements that people are requesting, they're going to kind of look into those things. And I think you're going to see that, or you see that with Kickstarter type games. I don't know. That's just how I feel that. Because the only way they make their game is if people are putting money into it. So they're going to kind of want to take, recommendations or whatever people are thinking about. And you're going to, especially with the second one, people have played the first one. Maybe, hey, it would be cool if you did whatever, if you added this aspect to the game, or if you changed this. They're going to listen to it more because people are paying. They're essentially paying them up front. without even seeing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now to answer his second question here, are there franchises that seem to do the opposite, where the first game was good, second game seems to take a step back? I see that you have one, I have one. So what's yours?
For me, it's Fable and Fable 2. Fable was, oh man, that game, when I played that on the original Xbox, blew me away.
Which I can play on Game Pass, by the way.
Oh, there you go. But when they, I don't know, they made so many improvements. They tried to add in co-op or multiplayer on the PlayStation. I think that was on PlayStation 2. And the story just really was uninteresting. The multiplayer was broken. It really made no sense. The whole game itself was kind of broken in my opinion. And they just tried to innovate so much in that game where it just didn't work. Apparently they redeemed themselves in Fable 3, but I lost it when I played Fable 2. So I wasn't contributing any more money to them. But yeah, I would say Fable, the Fable series.
Okay, so for me, I went with Dragon Age. Just speaking to going from Dragon Age Origins to Dragon Age 2, and don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Age 2, and there were elements, there were things, there were aspects that it did better than Origins. It sped up the combat and made it feel a little bit more sort of active and in your face. It looked a little bit better. But there were so many things that to me were lacking about that game that sort of makes it such a mediocre title. And I understand that part of the problem was, and interestingly enough, ironically enough, it's 2019 and we're still kind of talking about this, but I know that EA put a lot of pressure on BioWare and really, really made it impossible for them to make a good game there. And yes, I'm talking about Dragon Age 2 and not a game that came out in 2019. So
it's been happening for a long time with EA.
For a long time. So EA was not in charge, did not have BioWare until after Dragon Age Origins. So, I mean, there we go. But anyway, still in my mind, Dragon Age Origins is a superior game over Dragon Age 2. Despite some minor things that Dragon Age 2 did better, I think overall not as good of a game. So.
Yeah. And I can't really think of anything else where they kind of just took a big step backwards.
Yeah, I spent a while thinking about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. So very good question. Very good question. Thank you for writing in, Paul Nichols. Gio, do you know what time it is?
We're going to PAX. No?
True,
PAX
true,
season,
but not
yes.
quite yet.
Oh, I don't know.
Not quite yet. So,
Phil, just tell me, where are we going?
Going on a. Get ready to cue the music right here. Side quest.
Right here.
Right there. As soon as I said the word side quest, that's
Side
where the
quest.
music
All right.
comes in.
I gotta get that done.
Bomb. Okay.
Got it. Gotta do it.
Gio, hit me with what the side quest is tonight.
Is that because you
came
can't-
up with this doozy?
Is that
no,
because you
I
can't
can
read
totally
it?
see it, but I want to throw it to you because I feel like I've been speaking for 85% of the podcast.
That's okay. That's because you haven't been talking this entire time you haven't been here. You've just been silent, sitting at home.
Yeah. Even in
All
my
right.
personal life, I just haven't said that.
All right. Should developers like Bethesda and EA be responsible after they put out games like Anthem and Fallout 76? Both games are broken in different ways. Like, how much should they be responsible for? Like,
Okay, responsible in what way? Like refunding or like
potentially, yes, refunding. I mean, that would be the most drastic case, right? Full refund, or like, I mean, are they going to go in, patch? Like, how much time should they invest in some of these things?
Right. Because in the case of, say, a publisher pressuring a developer to put out a game that may not be ready, or maybe in a broken state, like you're saying, then they turn around and sort of punish the developer by not supporting it for a long time because of bad sales or bad PR, things like that. So yeah, I mean, should they be held responsible? I think so, yes. I think they should be held responsible. I think that they should be held accountable because I think, look, I mean, you know, devs might take a while if they really wanted to. And, you know, publishers are the business side of things. And anytime business and art, you get that clash, right? And the business says, okay, well, we've got to put something out because we've got to make money. Look, I understand that. But when you are doing it to the point that
it's detrimental,
it's making a product inferior or it's harming your customers, then I think you got to look at your business practices and say, okay, well, as a business, we're going to have to pay to make this right. And like I said, whether that is through refunding or like what you're saying, whether that is through investment, time, money, making this right, I think you got to.
So where did they go wrong? Are the publishers not seeing this? You know, is it better to save face and just get it right the first time? You know, put the money, put the time and effort before releasing the game. You delay the game, or release a broken game or a half-finished game. People are upset with you. They're upset with your brand, and now you kind of have to lose money again. Like, I think in the long run, this is gonna hurt. This would hurt them. Why would you want to put out a product like that? It makes zero sense to me. And these BioWare and Bethesda had to have known that these games are going out and there are a lot of problems. And to have them release a game like this when they're clearly not ready is just, it's such bad business practice. It makes zero sense because you're hurting your brand, and now you have to pay even more money to try and fix the issues that are there. When had you just taken the time initially, you probably would have saved money in the long run. Yeah, you would have had people that are angry because the game's getting delayed. Whatever, just make it right the first time, and you won't have that problem. You won't have that bad PR. That hit is just, I think that stings more. And especially in going to, it's been a thing with me. I've been talking about Fallout 76 for, and I haven't even played it yet. I have the Power Armor edition. I haven't even touched that game. And I'm a huge Bethesda fan. And just the negative PR around that game, I don't even want to think about playing that at all. And just, had they stuck to their core principles, they would have never had any issues. And it's just too bad. And yes, they are responsible for, I think, up to, refunds. Yes, for sure. Now, how far do you take that? If you're not happy with the game in, I don't know, a month's time, how long do you take that for?
Okay, so I think because I know that these are the two that are so fresh on everybody's minds because they're happening right now. But I mean, this isn't the first time anything like this has ever happened. I think if you go back and look at Final Fantasy XIV, historically bad MMO release. Yeah. The original version of Final Fantasy XIV was broken, was almost unplayable, lacked content. People complained about it so much that I think in one of the few times that I feel like Square Enix really handled something well, I believe they refunded players, and then they made the game free to play until they were ready to launch the new thing, which was a historically one of the biggest turnarounds in video game history, with a Realm Reborn coming out and being what the gamers really wanted and deserved. So where is the line of, oh, I didn't enjoy this? I think as either as a developer or as a publisher, you've got to look at the product that you put out, and you've got to say, it doesn't really matter if players are enjoying this or not. This game isn't worth the money that they spend on it.
Right.
So I think that, whether that is offering it free to play for a certain amount of time until you fix it, or if that is refunding players up to a certain amount, like, okay, so if you bought this, I don't know, it gets sticky, right? Because at some point people paid money, and you can't just like send back all the money that's ever been spent on the game.
Mm-hmm.
But offer those players some sort of in-game reward for being those early adopters and being those early investors. You got to do something to make it worth their while.
But that's essentially what we've become in modern gaming. We've become beta testers. Mm-hmm. So they're saving on their end by not play testing these games, and they're having us because they have the ability to patch these games later on. So they could potentially be saying, hey, let's just get this out there, show off what we got, we'll fix it later. Not thinking about the fallout for that. That's not a pun. It really isn't. It's just then they're not thinking of what that harm that can do. And you just, I think that's the one of the fallbacks on modern gaming is, we can just upload patches.
Well, so there are a couple of things that are mind-boggling to me about these two recent scenarios. One, so you have Fallout 76, okay,
and they're both broken in different ways. I feel
totally broken in different ways. I would say Anthem offering more content on release than Fallout 76 did, but I would say more technically broken maybe than Fallout 76 was. Mm-hmm. So completely different situations. But Gio, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Fallout 76 made in-house by Bethesda?
Yes,
software?
Bethesda Game Studios.
Game Studios. Okay,
yep.
So that's another sort of difference here, because Bethesda is a publisher, sure, but they also have the Bethesda Game Studio developer.
Right.
Whereas EA is the publisher, BioWare is developer. Okay, so I can look at, and with my eyes, I can see the developer publisher tension, or where you come in as a publisher and
sure.
you say put the game out now, even if it's not ready. But in the case of Fallout 76, were they just thinking that was the game that
they were trying to be innovative? I think they were just trying to be innovative, just trying to come up with something different. But they just misread their audience. They misread their audience. People who like Fallout, play Fallout, they want to play. It's a single player game. They want to play by themselves. They don't want an MMO. That's just my opinion. I mean, obviously there are people that play the game. I'm sure there are some people that enjoy the game. But most Fallout players aren't going to want that.
I would go as far as to say, if they had put out a more traditional style MMO, I think that Fallout players would have been a little bit more okay with it, because at least then it would have come with like NPCs and a story.
Right.
But the thing was, they put out a world with nothing in it, and then they said, well, you'll make your own story. Okay, well, is that innovative or is that lazy? Is that like, okay, well, let's get sort of this vehicle out there that will rake in money, hopefully, through microtransactions and stuff. So I don't know. In the Bethesda situation, was it that they put out something that was incomplete because they just needed something out there to rake in revenue? Because, they only put out a game every 4 years? I don't know. I can easily, though, see the EA BioWare situation where what's interesting to me is that, okay, yes, there was rumors that Anthem has been sort of in the works for a long time. We've had confirmation that it's sort of been being made for like 10 years, sort of behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But it was not announced until two E3s ago. Two
Right.
E3s ago. So it's not like we got an announcement 5 years ago, right? So from the standpoint of a developer, I can see where, okay, you want to make sure that you aren't you don't announce too early, so that then there's that long cycle of hype and you find yourself into a Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3 setting, right? Where then the hype's too big. So as a developer, maybe, okay, well, we announced the game a while ago, we got to get it out in whatever form it's in. But that wasn't really the Anthem. That wasn't really the case. It was 2 years.
Right.
I think announcement to release 3 years is not really too long.
No.
I mean,
I don't think so either. I mean,
with another 8 or 9 months of development time, I think they could have fixed a lot of the problems that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And it would have more content in it, which it needs. And so I just really wonder if EA came in, and of course I don't know for sure.
Pressured
EA
them.
came in, said, you have to start making money now, because you got to remember their last thing that BioWare put out was Andromeda. Was not up to the standards sales wise and obviously quality wise as the things that they had put out in the past. So it had been a while since BioWare had made some revenue. We know that EA is very money minded. They might have come in and said, look, you got to put it out regardless of what state it's in, and then just fix it after. And I think it might wind up really hurting them, and that's unfortunate. And I'm not saying that BioWare is completely clean in all this, because I mean it is a broken game. But then again, did they have the full development cycle that they
should have
needed
had
or deserved?
Right. Yeah. No. There's. I guess there's no way of knowing. Maybe that will come out eventually. But yeah, maybe they were feeling the pressures from EA. But that definitely doesn't explain Fallout 76 with Bethesda. Their in-house game studio is they're not pressuring themselves. They should be releasing the game when it's good and ready, and not if it needs to be delayed, delay it. I mean,
and then there is this slight other layer to it where you had Apex Legends come out 2 weeks before Anthem did, was also an EA published game made by Respawn. Okay, now they made this game on their own. EA did not tell them to put this game out. They chose the release date. They chose how it was going to be released. So they're sort of throwing around some weight in this whole I like to say EA is making these studios do this, but Respawn's kind of sitting there saying nah, we kind of make our own decisions.
Right.
And I feel like if any studio should be able to do that, it's BioWare, with the history that they have and the storied studio that they are. Shouldn't they be able to sort of throw around some weight, tell EA, look, game's not ready, believe in us, invest in us, trust in us. If we put this out 8 months down the road, if this is a fall release, it will go a lot better,
right? Because
it will be a better product. So maybe BioWare does have that ability, and they didn't, because Respawn proves that there are developers under EA that they can do what they want if they just sort of stand up to EA and do it. So it's interesting, fascinating situation.
And I'm sure more will come out from it. On
going back to the original question, yes, I think the publisher, especially in situations where they are pressuring the developer, you got to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm. But I just don't. I mean, what has Bethesda done? What has EA done about this? Other than, I think Bethesda did offer some refunds for Power Armor editions only, not for the regular game. So there was that canvas bag fiasco. So if you wanted to return it within, 30 days, they allowed that return. But yeah, there was nothing else. There was nothing else on either one of them for refunds. So I don't know. I don't see it happening. It should happen, but I don't see it happening.
Well, and then you had the whole very strange sort of staggered release schedule with Anthem, where you had the people paying the most money got the most broken version of the game. That in itself is mind-boggling when you think about it.
Right.
They paid for premium access and they got a game that didn't even have a day one patch, and that was the most broken of all the versions.
Ouch.
You know, and they're still not out of the weeds yet, because it seems like every time they fix one thing, 2 other things break. PS4's allegedly sort of quote unquote breaking, not being destroyed like was originally thought. There is a way to get it back from its bricked state, but still, it's like we should not have to be doing this. We
No,
should
not at
have
all.
to be booting up safe mode just to play this game,
Jeez.
or just because we played this game. You know, so I mean. I've seen video after video after video of just the performance. You know, take bricking aside, take the screwing up the actual machine aside. The performance on console is pretty astoundingly bad.
Oh.
From a rubber banding standpoint, I saw this one video on Sky on Twitter where he jumped off the platform, flew for 5 seconds, was back on the platform. Tried it 2 more times, just could not leave the platform. Even on PC, I've had trouble with drops, disconnects, and rubber banding on PC. You know,
It's everywhere.
And I promise it's not when my internet's going at like 4 KB. You know,
That's probably mostly what it is, but
yeah. But anyway,
we did
well,
it.
that was good. Was that cathartic for you?
That was. Oh, I needed this. I needed
that too. Gio, do you have anything else you want to add, or is that going to wrap up?
No, nothing there. I mean, I did want to thank you for taking the time to join me again for this episode, and again, like I've said, you're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you again for having me back, and it's good to get back in the Switchrpg car and drive down memory lane and down new highways. Life is a highway, you know. Nah. All right. Anyway, that's going to wrap up.
I thought you were gonna break into song there. I'm like, wow, this is a new fill.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely not. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up episode 43 of the Switchrpg podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and for listening to all of my ranting and ravings. And thank you for making it as far. And thank you, Paul Nichols, for sending in your questions. Remember, guys, you can always head over to discord.switchrpg.com. Join the podcast channel. Post your questions in there. Post your responses. Like I said, Gio is good about being in there, keeping an eye on it, and interacting with you. Remember that you can check us out each and every Friday on your favorite podcast app. And if you will, head over, give us a rating and review. That would be amazing. Remember, you can always watch the video version of the podcast on YouTube, even if it's not live, like we would love for it to be. We do have the video version over on youtube.com/SwitchRPG. Remember, you can head over to SwitchRPG.com for all of your RPG needs, RPG content, stuff like that. And then if you like what you hear and see and read, consider going over to patreon.com/SwitchRPG and tossing us $1 or $2 if you can spare it. But if not, remember that you distracted me. You highlighted something. Hang on. But anyway, if you can't,
What's going on?
If you can't, that's totally fine. You being part of the community is what matters to us. Until next time, keep grinding. Keep grinding.
Let me.
I can't. I don't see what it says. You put it in pink and I can't read it.
You can't read it. I've been. Let me help him out.
Okay. Until next time, keep grinding that backlog and always refill your potions. Gio.
Oh man,
good.
this was fun messing with you. I love it.
Yeah, I miss it. It's good to be
right,
back.
man.
Guys, until next time, have a good week.
Goodbye.